Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Amy Vincennes.
And you have yet another success story
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show. You guys, I have a guest that I can't think of a time that I've been more excited to invite and have a guest on. And today I am so honored to bring to you guys Samantha Harris. Samantha, welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show.
Thank you for having me on. This is so fun. Nice and so nice to see you. It's been a while.
It has been. And the title of today's show is How to Live a Longer, Happier Life with Samantha Harris. And no better person to talk to us about this. So I'm going to read your bio because a lot of people may not know what you've been up to, and it's quite a bit. You're an Emmy-winning TV host. We all know that. An author, a lot of people might not know that, and certified health coach and trainer, cancer survivor and thriver, proud mom of two, an unstoppable optimist dedicated to being your cheerleader and guide as you journey on toward Your Healthiest Healthy. You guys probably know her from ABC's Dancing with the Stars and Entertainment Tonight, two of my most favorite shows. Samantha also is the author of the best-selling book, Your Healthiest Healthy, 8 Ways to Take Control, Help Prevent and Fight Cancer, and Live a Longer, Cleaner, Happier Life. She is a national ambassador for both Susan G. Komen and the American Cancer Society. And now she is empowering women to ignite real, sustainable, healthy living changes with her just launched wellness membership group called Your Healthiest Healthy Community. Welcome again to the show, Samantha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be able to talk with your audience and share some tips to be able to really empower and take control of your health, your wellness, and your future.
And I'm so honored to have you here. I mean, we met in 2015 when you presented me the Fertile Action Award. And then I was listening to HLN. It feels like just yesterday. And I was like, wow, that voice is so familiar to me. I was driving to work and I said, that's Samantha Harris. I need to reach out to her. I need her to share her message with my audience. And you've really jumped into a lot of amazing things in your life. And it's always done with such zest. I mean, that is the perfect word to describe what you do. And I'm excited to have you to talk about healthy living, which is something that has a lot of crossover into the fertility world. Would you tell us a bit about your journey with cancer?
Well, absolutely. And it's interesting too, when you talk about, I oftentimes share my cancer story. I don't oftentimes, or really at all, talk about my own fertility story and the potential of the crossover of the lead up to a later diagnosis at 40 of cancer. So first of all, let me just start by saying I was as fit and healthy as I had ever been at 40, just about to turn 40. And I thought, you know what? My dad died of colon cancer. His mom was a breast cancer survivor who lived to 95. She was postmenopausal when she was diagnosed. But cancer was something that I was familiar with. And my girls were 3 and 6 at the time. And I said, I'm going to get a jump on that mammogram thing. Let's set a baseline while I'm still healthy. And actually, the results came back clear. But 11 days later, I was changing after a workout and I felt a lump that I was pretty sure hadn't been there before. Quickly that same week, went to see my OBGYN. She did a clinical exam, felt up the boobies, said, they're fine. She's always been a non-alarmist. She's like, it's nothing. It's what 40 looks like. It's probably glandular. Don't worry about it. And all right, fine. She said, don't worry. And of all my doctors, I was with her from the time I was 20 something. I was with her before I had sex. Okay. It was like a long time. 24 when I lost my virginity. I'm just going to go throw that out there. And my kids better also be that old when they do. Anyway, so TMI. So anyway, the point is that I really trusted her. And I'd been with her for a very long time. And she said it was nothing. But a month later, the lump was still there. I went to see my internist. He did the same thing. Quick clinical exam, told me it was nothing, sent me on my way. 4 months passed, and this pesky lump was just there kind of screaming at me. What am I? So I finally went to see someone who looks at breasts every day. not realizing that the people who do that are breast oncologists, because those are the only ones who need to look at breasts every day, other than plastic surgeons and your gyno. So they too, in the office visit with two ultrasounds and a needle biopsy, didn't think that it was cancer. And when the needle biopsy results came back, it also didn't detect cancer. She said, good news, bad news. Good news is it's not cancer. Bad news is I don't know what it is. Let's take it out. So I had a lumpectomy. Again, reassured when I woke up from that surgery, not cancer. And a week later, I went by myself to my post-surgical follow-up. I told my husband, don't worry, you don't have to come with me. It's not cancer. I'm fine. And I sat there and found out it was cancer. It was invasive. And after a double mastectomy, I found out it had gone to a lymph node. So the moral of the story, girls and boys, is know your body, check your body, empower yourself, be your own best health advocate.
I have goosebumps all over my body right now. I didn't know that story about you. And
I don't mean to be so flippant. I feel like, I've told it so many times, because I want to. It's an important story to share. And it's important to know that when we down deep think something, and I'll be honest, I didn't think I had cancer, but I also felt that the lump was there. And if it's truly nothing and I'm going to live with it, don't we need to know it's really nothing? Can you know just by feeling it on the outside that it's nothing? No, you need to have more diagnostic tests done. You need to go a little deeper. As much as I had never had surgery in my life before that lumpectomy. So that was a doozy of a year with 3 surgeries instead. So, but that's really where it comes down to. And really knowing that if that inner voice is telling you something's either off or not right, doctors, and I'm saying this in the presence of a fabulous one, doctors don't know our bodies as well as we know our bodies. And so we have to advocate. And when you then find your way to wonderful doctors like Dr. Amy is, like the oncologist who listened to her gut and took out extra tissue she thought was normal, that turned out to be the invasive cancer. So I had ductal cancer, which is called DCIS, and then the healthy tissue sample that in her gut, she said, I don't know why, I just felt like I needed to take this sample. That was invasive. And that's the only reason I went further and had my mastectomy and realized that I had more complicated cancer.
Wow. So you had an angel sitting on your shoulder, literally telling you, listen to your boobs.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that angel also may have been my mom too, who was constantly in my ear. Did you check it? Is it still there? Is the lump still there? Sometimes we as moms, we are right. So it was but no matter how much my mom was in my ear for those 4 months, I was still the one who had to take action, no matter how much she berated me about this lump that was there, right? So that's where we have to be confident in our own abilities to take control.
Yeah. And now you're a certified health coach, and you have this amazing book all about living a healthy lifestyle. So tell us some of your tips. I mean, I know you have so many, but what information do you have to share about how people can live their, what you call, and I love this phrase, healthiest healthy?
Well, and thank you for asking. And the reason I called the book Your Healthiest Healthy, and the community Your Healthiest Healthy community, is because I thought I was healthy. I thought I was living a healthy life. And then I realized I needed to be my healthiest healthy. And when I leaned into my journalism background after my diagnosis, because I had no hereditary link, actually only out of the 1 in 8 women who will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer over the course of her lifetime, only 5 to 10% of those diagnoses are actually hereditary. And when I found out that I was negative for all the different mutations, I was perplexed. Why were so many people getting this breast cancer diagnosis? And so I really dug deep into research, and I read everything I could. I spoke to everyone and I could. And what I determined is something that is really what ignited this passion within me to pursue a life in the wellness business, which is that it is what you put in, on, and around your body that affects your overall well-being, that turns on or off cancer cells that might be lying dormant in your body, leads to other chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. So the healthful changes we make to ideally avoid a diagnosis or a recurrence of a breast cancer are the same healthful changes that will benefit all these other elements, dementia, Alzheimer's, and other cognitive decline issues as well when we make these changes. So to answer your question about what are some of the sort of pillars of your healthiest healthy wellness, one is to fill your plate at least half full of veggies at every meal. And I say this one because as a girl who grew up in Minnesota eating every part of the cow, when we grow up especially in America, right, the standard American diet, the SAD, and when the standard American diet is introduced into other cultures, the Western diet is when those cultures start to plummet when it comes to chronic diseases. And so I realized that slab of meat front and center on the plate with a little bit of veggie and a little bit of some sort of grain was actually not the most healthful way to live. So when I started to lean more towards a plant-based whole foods diet, look, people say, "Are you vegan? Are you vegetarian? What do you do? What do you eat?" I'm a kind of, I don't know, I'm my own. I'm a plant-based whole foods foundational diet. And then from there, I might have chicken once a week. I try not to, but I've got kids and the meals are, what kids will eat these days is very limited, but they are eating some tofu. Gotta beat that. But I do eat sushi once a week. So we have to figure out what works best for ourselves, right? It's about bioindividuality, and what works well for one person might not work the same for somebody else. But no matter what dietary theory you subscribe to, be it vegan or paleo or anything in between, all of the gurus in those dietary theory spaces will agree that a plant-based whole foods foundation is imperative. And if you choose to eat a little bit of meat, okay, so you're eating a little bit of meat, but also what kind of meat? What's the quality? Is it grass-fed? Is it organic? How was that cow treated before it was slaughtered, right? All of that is also really important. Are you buying your produce conventionally? Are they on the Dirty Dozen list that the Environmental Working Group puts out to show you how pesticide heavy those fruits and vegetables are? Where are you choosing to spend your money when it comes to organic produce? So these are the important parts of that pillar. The next one is really about finding calm. These can be our demise, right? We're on these, or lately, especially with this pandemic, we're on Zoom, we're on Skype, we are constantly in a state of a barrage of activity. And our body and our mind has no time to slow down unless we take the time to choose to do that. So being able to, I say, breathe right, breathe often, and breathe deeply. Whether you are doing 30-second micro meditations in your day or full out 30-minute ones, implementing that sort of mindfulness for your mental health to slow down, right? The parasympathetic nervous system at rest and relax, and then the sympathetic fight or flight. The wonderful thing about our beautiful bodies is they can never happen at the same time. When one's active, the other one can't be, and vice versa. So when we choose breath work, when we choose to have self-care and calm, it automatically lowers our levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which leads to inflammation, which then leads to chronic diseases, right? So that's another really important part. And I find myself too, just sometimes in the middle, the best thing about breath work is you can be in the middle of a Zoom call and go, and take that deep breath. And the person on the other end, as long as they're talking to you, have no idea that you're trying to calm yourself down.
I mean, I feel relaxed just having you just talk through those tips. I just feel just less stressed. And I'm not a stressed person at all. And I think I share a lot in common with you. I call myself the most annoyingly annoying positive person on the face of this earth. Despite all anyone can go through, I'm just like, well, what are we going to do next? With a smile on my face. And I know that some people find that annoying, and I'm okay with that. But I find your energy to be contagious. And when I see you dancing in the morning or jumping on your trampoline and all that stuff that you're doing, and I'm like, everyone needs to hear this message. At least everyone, that's going through a fertility struggle, because I think they need to, it's contagious. So, with COVID, and you talked a lot about things that we can do, and you've talked about resilience and a positive mental attitude. I know where I get the strength from, but how have you tapped into that positivity? Where did this come from for you?
Well, really my cancer diagnosis was a gift in many ways. I wouldn't ask to have it again, and I wouldn't want anyone else to go through it. But when I was so down and out and feeling crushed by the weight of what that diagnosis could potentially mean for my future or the lack thereof. The anxiety I felt was so suffocating. And I was, like you said, I'm a positive Polly. I'm always like, guess what can we do next? Happy, glass half full. And it struck that down. And I kind of finally, I was almost more shaken by that than anything else. And so I had to really turn around my perspective. My husband said, babe, when life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade. And so just that mere suggestion made me take each blow that came next with a positive spin. So how did I build this positive mindset, which I will tell you the tools in that sort of toolbox of mine now helped a lot when COVID hit, because all of a sudden I thought, I was like maybe a couple weeks in and I thought, how long is this going to go? The walls were closing in on me. I really started to have sort of that freak out anxiety loading again. And I thought, no, wait. I know. Okay. Control what you can control. I can't control that I have cancer. I can't control there's a pandemic. What can I control? Well, my effort, my attitude, my emotions, right? We can, by doing breath work to calm ourselves down. I could control when it comes to COVID. I can control that I wear a mask when I go out, that it's the proper mask, that it's not just a mask that's keeping others safe, but maybe it's a KN95 that I can get access to. So I'm also protecting myself. I can keep distance. I can make sure I'm doing grocery delivery. I'm doing different elements to make sure that I could control what I could control. And the same thing went with cancer. I couldn't control that I had a diagnosis, but that's where positive self-talk which is another tool of mine, is really helpful. When it came to cancer, I thought, okay, I have a diagnosis. What's positive here? Okay, well, I have good health insurance. I have an amazing family and support system that are going to be around me. I'm in otherwise really good shape. That's going to lessen my chances of complications during surgery and will lead to a quicker recovery. And just the more you talk positively and you say it out loud, whether you're alone in your bathroom or you're on a walk, it's the more you say it, the more you believe it. And sometimes you just have to fake it till you make it, right?
Totally.
So control what you can control, the positive self-talk. And another one that is really helpful, because I'm a planner, and planners also like to worry. I like to worry about a lot of things because I need to worry. I need to figure it out. I got to get a plan. What's the plan? And the plan is worry. So when I finally gave myself the grace to worry when I needed to worry, and some days it's harder than others and I really have to work at it, but it's possibly one of the most powerful tools I have in my arsenal. So again, as a planner, I remember there was a TV show that I was up for as a host, and I really wanted the job, but I was going to have to be in the makeup chair. And I'd already gone through this before, where I was in the makeup chair between 4:30 and 5 in the morning when my oldest was only a year old, and it sucked. And here I was with a great opportunity, but again, I was going to have to be in the makeup chair between 4:30 and 5 in the morning. And I worried. I lost sleep. How am I going to get up? How am I going to get enough sleep? How am I going to be able to be with my family enough? I'm going to miss seeing my kids in the morning. I mean, right? The worries were just, I call them the worry bullies. They like to sit on your shoulders and just berate you. And so you got to flick the worry bully off and say, you know what? Because guess what? I didn't get the job, by the way. So here I was worrying about that. Yeah, you worry about things that are looming in the future that may never happen. If you're worried that you found something on your body, I'll be honest, I found some lymph nodes in my groin I've always had very visible lymph nodes in my groin. And this just happened within the last few weeks. And I noticed they looked a little bit bigger than I thought they had been. And I went for my regular checkup with my oncologist, and she was looking up here. And I said, could you just check down there? Like, are those lymph nodes okay? And she went, whoa, I've never seen something so big. And I was like, could you maybe temper your reaction a little bit more? And she said, I want you to have a CT scan. First time even through my whole cancer journey, I had never had a CT. They usually don't want to do it unless there's an issue. So we scheduled a CT. And the anxiety started to bubble. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going through this again. What the heck am I going to do? Oh my God, oh my God. And then I had to tap into the worry when you have to worry. So I said, you know what? I can't do anything else about it right now. I'm doing I controlled what I could control. I asked the doctor to take a look. We set up the diagnostic. That's all I can do right now. And if I, God forbid, have another diagnosis, I will, like all my little superstitions, I'll have to worry then, but I'm not going to worry now. And I actually was able to put it in my back pocket. And by the way, thank goodness, everything looked fine. And the huge nodes, we realized were actually a conglomerate of nodes that you could see on the outside, but actually on the scan, none of them were of a concerning size. And because I'm thin, you can see them much more. So anyhow, it really works. And then breathe. Those breaths, again, they come into everything. And the positive self-talk, control what you can control, worry when you have to worry, and breathe right, breathe often, and breathe deeply.
I feel like I should have that on a laminated card that I give every single patient at their new patient visit and be like, remember this at the beginning of your fertility journey, and listen to Samantha Harris, join her groups. And I want to talk a little bit more about that too. So tell us about the community and what people can expect to find there. How do they sign up?
Well, I'm just so excited. It's been, honestly, it's weird to be, I'm 47 and to have sort of this career path shift. And not to say that I'm not going to be doing TV hosting in that life, but I'm so passionate about helping others reach their health goals and ignite real sustainable change so that people can be healthier and empower themselves. So through the Your Healthiest Healthy community, so you access it by going to just yourhealthiesthealthy.com, and all the information about what the community brings you is in there, and that's where they click to sign up. And then once they're signed up, then it's actually everything's accessed through Facebook. But if you go to Facebook and ask, this keeps happening. People go to the Facebook page and then they ask to be part of the community, but they can't get in until they go to yourhealthiesthealthy.com first. But what it is, every week, I have a live coaching session. So today, for instance, I just did one, create a healthier relationship with food. Right? We have such disordered eating, especially, it's not just about severe eating disorders, but disordered eating is very common. Next week is going to be the toxins, getting the toxins out of your makeup supplies, your period routine, purging your cleaning supplies, and swapping out for things that aren't going to be adding, right? We're cleaning, and yet we're adding toxins into our home environment when we're trying to get it out. So that's a topic. So every week, live coaching, a different topic. It could be about nutrition. It could be about stressing less, sleeping better, getting toxic relationships out of your life, a whole gamut. Every week, I lead a live 20-minute workout. So everything from kickboxing to yoga to tomorrow morning is a buns burner class. We're going to burn it out on the lower body. So always changing up the workout. And then also so far every week that since the community has been live, I also have an expert, which by the way, I think we need to talk, so you can come in and do it. But I have either a live expert guest or a live celebrity guest who comes in, and it's a great conversation with a lot of takeaways. So also giveaways and challenges. We did a 14-day cleanse, not an intense cleanse, but just a really mild one. So just really great, healthful, beneficial takeaway.
And then if we do it and we can look like you, then I think it's a win-win, because I look at you and on Instagram, and I'm so inspired, and just from a healthy, like the smile on your face, the glow in your skin. And it's like, I feel like if we can tap into that for everybody, it's just a win-win for our community and for our world, for sure.
Well, thank you, Dr. Amy. I appreciate that. And, so much that I talk about too is just about, kind of like I was talking about earlier with bioindividuality, right? That there isn't just one body shape that is the healthiest. There's not one mindset or way of eating that is the healthiest, right? So I really encourage my members of the community to find what is right for them. Also, as they're shaping what their goals are, to find their why. Because if we don't have a strong inner pull to these changes, we're not going to find that success.
Yeah, and for my patients, it's to be more fertile, right? So if we can decrease inflammation, get the blood sugar under control, be our healthiest healthy, then everything else will hopefully be easier, and we'll have a higher chance of pregnancy, even if it is with needing technology like IVF.
It's so interesting that you say that too, because that was, of course, throughout my pregnancy journeys, was not something that anyone ever suggested. And I was a sugar fiend. I mean, literally a self-professed candyaholic. I loved all that junk. And that was, and no one ever said, you know what, you probably have a lot of inflammation. Let's see what your C-reactive protein levels are. Let's try to bring down the sugar. It's hidden in, and that's something that I didn't realize too, that sugar is hidden in so many things that we don't even deem as sweet, right? The manufacturers of these companies, and something I talk about a lot in the community as well for Your Healthiest Healthy, that right, if we don't understand how to read nutrition labels and ingredients labels, and then we don't understand what the words are, the gurus at these companies that are manufacturing packaged goods their goal is to make money and to get us to buy it again and again. So they're putting in sugar and salt in ways that we don't realize. There are 76 synonyms for sugar, pasta sauces and ketchups and things that right? So, and by the way, if there's one thing I say, go into your pantry, go into your fridge and just turn things around, look at the ingredients. And if there's high fructose corn syrup, it's the easiest swap because you won't notice that it's gone when you find something better. And I call that one liquid death. So I'm a little extreme on the high fructose corn syrup.
I feel like I need to join your community.
I will give you all the goods, I promise.
Thank you. I talk about mantras with my patients, and now we're still at the beginning of the new year and people talk about New Year's resolutions, but I like to focus on mantras all year long. What are some mantras that keep you going?
Well, I have one that I developed for myself after my cancer journey. It started as I'm strong, I'm fit, and I'm cancer free. And because I was told the more you say it, again, fake it till you make it, the more you say it, the more you believe it. And then I realized a couple months into it that every time I say I'm cancer free, it reminds me that I had cancer. So maybe I need to flip the script a little more. So my mantra since then, which is many years now since, 6.5 years post my diagnosis, is I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm happy.
I love that.
And by saying I'm healthy, I'm choosing health. I'm choosing happiness.
So I want to end today's show by just also having you tell us about your book.
Oh, absolutely. So really, I mean, everything that I talk about in the Your Healthiest Healthy community is really an extension of the book itself. But the reason that I wrote it was because after my diagnosis, and I came through all my surgeries and I started to do all the research and I found, okay, it's what's on and around your body that leads to cancer and all these other chronic diseases. I wanted answers. Okay, so well, how am I supposed to eat? What should be my reasoning for working out? What do I ask my doctor when I go into an appointment, either when I think something's wrong or after a diagnosis? What stress is happening in my life that I need to reduce? How do I get out of a toxic relationship? And I don't mean a boyfriend-girlfriend one, but the ones that we don't sometimes realize that are toxic, right? The mom at school who's always just making you feel left out or dragged down, right? Things like that. And then how do I know what I need to reduce or change up when it comes to my beauty routine? So there wasn't one book that had everything. And I wanted to create a comprehensive action plan that people could really dip into any chapter depending on what they were focused on, or read it cover to cover and have those tools, from lists of ingredients in your beauty products to avoid, to suggestions for cleaner versions and cleaner products, to, like I said, what questions to ask your doctor before, during, and after a diagnosis, how to I call it the doc squad, how to interview doctors and make sure that you have the right squad around you so that you're ready, and to do it before, God forbid, a diagnosis, right? We need to have people in place. I mean, obviously you're not going to go find an oncologist if you don't have a cancer diagnosis, but making sure you have the right supportive team for all the other elements of it. So that's really was the impetus for the book. And it's the book that spawned wellness retreats and keynote speaking events, and now, of course, the Your Healthiest Healthy community. And I invite and would love to have, I really keep it incredibly accessible. It's a subscription-based membership, but it's really accessible and has a lot of takeaway with the live coaching, the live weekly workouts, the live expert interviews, and the celebrity guests.
So fun. And fertility patients sound like they will benefit greatly, not only from your book, but from learning more from you about how to live your healthiest healthy life. Samantha, thank you for all you're doing for people all over the world. I imagine your message, because of the internet, has reached people in places that, otherwise wouldn't have heard it. And I imagine you're changing the lives and making people healthy everywhere. So thank you for all you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Amy. I really appreciate you having me on and all the beautiful, wonderful work you do for so many of your fertility patients.
Thank you, Samantha.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Emmy-winning TV.
And you have yet another success story.
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.